Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Divine and in today's video I'll be showing us how to cut and sew this crop top here with a V neckline and a collar, and also how to go about the cutting of the sleeves. So if this is something you're interested in, let's get started. So starting from the top of my pattern paper here, I'm going to come down with 1 inch and draw out a straight line. So this line here is going to be our shoulder line. So from this shoulder line, I'll come down to mark my chest line of 8 inches. But because this is a free shirt, I'll be coming down with extra 1 inch. That's 9 inches for my chest line. Then I'll mark the top length of 19 inches plus 1.5 inches for folding allowance at the down. So for the crop top, you can usually come down with 4 inches from your length to under bust, but I wanted this to be a bit longer, that is why I added 1 inch. So I came down with 5 inches from my length to under bust. Next, I'll be marking my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5 inches, plus half inch because this is a loose top. So I'll be adding half inch to my shoulder measurement. Now on the chest line, I'll mark my bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra 1 inch to make this shirt a loose shirt. Then on the shirt full length, I'll divide my round body measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch because this is a loose shirt. I'll connect the points together. Next, on the armhole line here, I'm going to come down with 1 inch for the shoulder slope, then measure what I have left on that line and get the middle of it. And on that midpoint, I'll go in with half inch for the curve of the armhole. Then I'll connect like so. So this is the armhole curve for our front block. Now for the neck width, I'm going to work with a neck width of 3 inches and a depth of 3 inches for the round neck. I'll first get the round neck before I get the V-neck. So this is it. Then I'm going to draw out our shoulder slope from the neck width to this 1 inch here like so. So the depth of the V neckline from this round neck, I'll be coming down with 5 inches. Then on the round neck here, I'll go in with 1.25. So I'll go in with 1.25 and I'll come down with 5 inches from the depth of the round neck. So this is my V neckline here. So we're going to have a collar, then also a V neckline. So this is the V neck, this is the round neck, then my shoulder. So this is all for the drafting of the front block. Now to draft out the back block, first I'm going to come down with 2 inches from the top of my pattern paper. Then I will draw a straight line. From the straight line here, which is my shoulder line, I'll mark my chest line of 9 inches and my blouse length of 19 inches plus 1.5 inches for seam allowance, that is 21 inches. 20.5 inches rather. Then I'll draw a straight line. Next, I'll mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus half inch, just like we did for the front. So 7.5 plus half, that's 8 inches. Then I'll mark my round body, my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch also. And my round body measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch also. So this is the ease we are adding to the shirt, so it is not fitted on our body. Then on the armhole line here, I'll get the middle and connect that midpoint to touch the bust, the chest line. For the neck width, I'll mark a neck width of 3 inches, and from that 3 inches I'll go up with 1 inch and connect that 1 inch to the tip of my shoulder like so. Then for the depth, I'm going to come down with 0.25 from this shoulder line. So from this shoulder line, I'll come down with 0.25 and connect it to touch that 1 inch we went up with. So this is how the back neckline will be, and I'm going to highlight all the lines. So after doing this now, this is my back block. Now I'm going to add my seam allowance round this pattern. So I've added my seam allowance around this pattern. That is why I came down with 1 inch and 2 inches at the top of the paper, so we can add our allowance to this pattern. So I added half inch all around, but on the side I added 1 inch. And I didn't add any allowance to the down because we already added 1.5. So I added 1 inch to the side, and the armhole and neckline I added half inch. So I'll go ahead and cut. And for the front, I didn't cut out the V neckline yet. So this is the back. I'll go ahead and cut. So this is what we're having after cutting. So I'm working with, you can use 1.5 yard of your Ankara fabric, but I'm making use of more than 1.5 because I'm using only one pattern for this. But you need a 1.5 yard is enough for this crop top. So I'll fold my fabric into 2, and I'll place the center front of my pattern on the side that is on fold on my fabric. So the center back does not have joining. I'll pin it, then cut out. We already added our allowance to the pattern, so we don't need to add on the fabric again. I'll fold my fabric into 2 again, then place my front pattern on it. So there's no joining on my center front, so I'll be placing it on the folded side of my fabric. Then I'll pin it, then cut out. And you can see I'm cutting out only the circle part first, only the circle neckline, the round neckline first rather. So now I want to cut a facing for this neckline. I'll fold my fabric into 2, then place my pattern on it. And you can see the facing came lower than the V neckline with about 4 inches extra. Then I'm going to cut out. You can see the facing also is the round neckline I cut. So arrange it properly together and then cut out the V of both the front fabric and the facing. Cut out the V. So this is what we are having. Now I'll place this facing on my front piece, right side facing each other. I'm going to sew the V part only with ½ inch. Only the V part with ½ inch, and I'll add my hemming gum to this. After doing that, I'll go ahead and notch so that by the time we turn this over, it's going to relax properly. I'll just notch. Then after notching, I'll turn it over to the wrong side and iron it properly. So just the V part, as you can see, that's what we sewed. Now I'll place the front piece on this so we can sew the shoulder. I'll pick up the shoulder of the back and the shoulder of the front. I'll hold it together. Then pick up the facing of the front and turn it to the back. I'll turn the facing of the front till it touches the back. This is so that when we sew, we have an invisible finishing. The sewing will not be showing on the blouse. I'll sew with ½ inch. So I'll explain again on the other side. I'll pick up the shoulder of the back and the shoulder of the front. I will align it. Then pick up the shoulder of the facing of the front and tilt it till it gets to the back. Then I'll pin it together. And sew with ½ inch. After doing that, I'm going to be rolling the hem of my blouse with 1.5 inches, which is the seam allowance we added. So I'll fold with ½ inch first, then fold again with 1 inch. So after doing all that, this is what I'm having. You can see the shoulder of the blouse. You can see that you will not see the seam allowance there. And I folded the hem of my blouse. Next, I'm going to be closing the sides, which with the 1 inch allowance, sewing allowance I added. So I'll sew this side closed with 1 inch. Then on this other side, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches. From here, I'll mark 2.5 inches. Then I'll start sewing from here using normal stitches. When I get to the 2.5, I'll top stitch, then continue with loose stitches. We're using loose stitches because we are going to be adding our invisible zipper to the side. So because this blouse is not too big, we only added 1 inch for ease. We need like a zipper so it is easy to wear. After doing that, now I'm going to measure what I have around the neckline of this blouse. I'll place my tape. I'll measure all I have, and I'm having about 13.5 inches. So now we are going to be drafting out the collar for this shirt, for this top. So 13.5 divided by 2, that is 6.25. I'll mark 6.25 like so. Then divide that 6.25 into 2 again like so. So this is the midpoint of 6.25. Then on this side here, I'm going to go up with 0.25 and connect that 0.25 to touch the midpoint. This is because the collar, the neckline is not straight, so we're trying to make a curve on the collar. Now from this 0.25, I'll go upwards and mark 1 inch. From the midpoint here, I'll go up and mark 1 inch, and from this center, I'll go up and mark 1 inch. So the width of our collar stand is 1 inch. This is the collar stand. So it is not straight. So this is the collar stand. Now we'll be drafting the collar, and we need the collar to have the same line this collar stand is having at the top. So because this collar stand is not straight, the collar too cannot be straight. So we're going to trace this upper part of this collar stand. We'll just trace this shape. We need this shape to start the collar. So I'll trace it out, follow the dotted lines and trace it out, and you can see it's not straight. So we need the lower part of the collar to be like this. Then from that point there, I'll mark 1.25. From where the collar starts from, I'll mark 1.25. I don't want this collar to be too big. And on this side, I'll mark 1.5. Then I'll connect like so. So you can make your collar longer than this, but this collar is, I don't want it to be too wide. Then I'll go up from here, and on this side, I will extend with 1/2 inch so that we have like a small V there. I'll just extend with 1/2 inch. So this is it for the collar and the collar stand. So this is our collar here. So I said because the collar, the neckline of the blouse is not straight, that is why we have this slight curve on both the collar stand and the collar. And this side is going to be on fold. This is the up. The center part is going to be on fold. So when we are cutting it on our fabric, we have to fold the fabric into 2. So this is what I'm having. So this is the piece of fabric. I'm gonna hedge iron my hair stay on it. Then we'll place our pattern. So the side that is on fold on the fabric, our pattern is going to be the center part of our pattern is going to be on the folded side of our fabric. Please take note of that. I'm going to pin it. Then I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance on the 3 sides, the down, the up, and this side. 1/2 inch seam allowance. After doing that, I'll be cutting 2 pieces of this, one for the main for the front and one for the lining of the collar. So I'll place the collar stand. Then I'll cut, adding 1/2 inch seam allowance to the 3 sides. So this is what we're having. Now I'll take off my pin on the collar and notch the midpoint of the both fabric. So this is the upper part. I'll place the 2 fabric right side facing each other. Then I'll sew the 3 sides with 1/2 inch. I'll sew with 1/2 inch, then turn it over and iron it. So this is what we're having. Now for the collar stand, I'll notch the midpoint. So I'm going to mark the upper part so we don't put the upper part on the, turn it upside down. So this is the upper part. Now the part of our collar that is still open, we are going to be placing it on the upper part of the collar stand. So the part that is open on the collar will be on the upper part of the collar stand. Then we'll place the lining on it and sew the 3 sides. I'm going to push the collar in so that we don't sew on the collar. So this is what I'm having. The lower part of the collar stand is still open. That is what will be joining to our blouse. Now I'll get the midpoints of the neckline on the blouse. I will notch it. So we need to get the midpoints so that when we join the two midpoints together, it will be equal. Notch it. Then I'll place the collar on the front bodice of the shirt, of this top, then pin it. So we're going to be sewing the front first. The collar is currently resting on the right side of this shirt. I'm going to pin it around the neckline. I'll pin around the neckline to the end. I'll pin the other side also to the end. You need to pin this first before you take it to your machine and sew. Then I'll sew with 1/2 inch all round. So this is what I'm having after sewing with 1/2 inch. You can see how the front looks and you can see how the back looks. The back is still open. So now to sew the back, I'm going to be folding in the seam allowance of 1/2 inch. I'll fold it in. When I fold it in, I'll pin it. I'll fold it in again, then pin it. So we are pinning this because we are not going to be sewing it from this back. We'll be sewing it from the front. So when we turn it to the front and sew, the pins are going to hold it in place at the back. So if we're sewing it at the front, we will not see what is happening at the back. So that's why the pin is going to hold it in place. So we'll pin it all the way to the end. Pin it very well, fold in the seam allowance and pin. So after doing that, we'll turn it over to the right side like so and sew in this ditch here, in this line here, so that it is invisible. So after doing that, this is what I'm having for my collar. I'll go ahead now and fix my invisible zipper to the side. Next, I'm going to be drafting out my sleeve. I'll just draw a straight line. This is my starting point. Then I'll come down to mark 8 inches for my bicep and the sleeve full length of 19.5 inches. I'll mark 8 inches and 19.5 inches plus 1 inch at the down for folding allowance, so 20.5 inches. I'm going to draw out my armhole curve of 9.5 inches. So you measure what you're having on your blouse, and I had 9.5 inches. So I'm going to draw a curve of 9.5 inches plus 1/2 inch for seam allowance. Then on my bicep line, I'm going to mark my round sleeve, which is 6.25 plus 1.5 inches for ease of the sleeve, then 1/2 inch for seam allowance. Then on this lower part, I'm going to mark 10 inches. I'm just confirming the length, which is 19.5 plus 1 inch, that's 20.5. I'll mark 10 inches plus 1/2 inch for seam allowance. Then connect all the points together like so. So after doing that, on the side here, I'm going to go up with 1/2 inch. On this side, I'll go up with 1/2 inch and curve it back so that that point is not too sharp. Then I'm going to cut out. I'll add 1/2 inch at the top here for seam allowance. So I've gone ahead to cut out my sleeve. I'll fold this into 2 now and sew all the way with 1/2 inch and hem the down with 1 inch. And after doing that, I'll be attaching it to the body of my shirt. And this is what we are having, guys. Our shirt came out so beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. And if you've not liked this video yet, please do well to like this video. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.